Still ahead, town halls hit a new low as a handicapped woman is heckled. Can President Obama bring the country together on the heated health care debate? We'll talk about it with strategists from both sides. That's next.
Not because I took on some irresponsible mortgage. No, I worked hard.
After a month of town halls like that have just dominated the health care debate, President Obama is looking to get back on the offensive next week. Here's how senior advisor David Axelrod described Wednesday's speech before a joint session of Congress.
It's always been the case that the president wanted to drive this debate, lay out some principles, challenge the Congress to respond to them. Now there are many ideas on the table. Now it's time to draw those strands together.
Joe Watkins is a Republican strategist and a political analyst for MSNBC. Bernard Whitman is a Democratic strategist. What do you think here, Joe? I mean, do you think that those town halls have the ability at this point to radically change what President Obama is going to do?
Well, certainly they tell all of America and the president as well how Americans feel about this bill. I mean, it feels like Democrats are trying to push something on Americans that Americans don't want. They don't understand, they don't want. And Democrats are saying, just trust us. Don't read the fine print. We know you don't have time to read the 1,000 pages of legislation. You may not know the details, but trust us.
Well, okay, so I think you're being overly broad to say Americans don't want it. I think that there's a segment of America that doesn't want it. I think there's
citizens don't want it.
There's a segment of America who absolutely, they do want to see a health care reform passed, and they want a public option. And a lot of times it happens because they're not getting good quality medical care. Let me show you what happened at one of these town halls. And we've seen a lot of yelling at a lot of town halls, a lot of upset people, but this kind of took a nasty turn. Watch.
I live in fear every day that I will lose my home. Not because I took on some irresponsible mortgage. No, I worked hard my whole life. The copay for one of my medications is $389 every 2 weeks. And I'm afraid I might not be able to afford my property taxes and I'll lose my home. Please hear this voice of the disabled.
This woman who's speaking, she was at a town hall for New Jersey Congressman Frank Pallone. She says she has 2 incurable diseases. She's confined to that wheelchair that she was sitting in, and yet she's being heckled by the crowd trying to tell her story. When asked why he heckled her, one guy said to her, "I didn't come here to listen to people's opinion. My rights are no less important than a woman in a wheelchair." Bernard, the conversation, the discourse has become so extremely unhelpful. I don't know what gets accomplished.
The fact that in this country that health care is not considered a basic and fundamental human right is an absolute tragedy. That every day in this country we allow millions of mothers and fathers to choose between feeding their child and getting them the proper health care. The fact that we literally at the end of the day decide who lives and who dies, who suffers and who does not, based on what type of coverage they have and what type of money they earn is an absolute abomination.
Well, yeah,
I would ask my conservative friends.
Let's face it.
What would Jesus do in this situation? It is an abomination.
Preacher Joe has already answered that. Joe, you told me a week or 2 ago that you believe that everyone should have quality health care in this country, that you think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Here's my question.
I do.
Does anything get accomplished when a lady in a wheelchair is trying to share her personal struggles with why don't we have a comprehensive system when she's being shouted down? What gets accomplished there?
Contessa, I agree with you. That's not right. There's no excuse for that kind of incivility, that kind of meanness toward anybody. We're supposed to love each other. We're supposed to care about each other, even when we don't agree.
If we're supposed to love and care for each other, then why aren't Republicans committed to a system where we're loving and caring for our fellow Americans who can't get in to see a doctor?
We're committed to a system that's loving and caring, that helps people that can't get in to see a doctor, that's not government run. We don't want to see a government run system system that costs $1.6 trillion, that's going to add to the deficit, that's going to be a burden to small businesses, that's going to deny seniors treatment. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that.
Gentlemen,
what's the rush?
Joe, I don't think any senior would be in favor of giving up their publicly funded Medicare program. And, you know, in this country, we enacted compulsory public education for children 100 years ago. So we feel that it's important to feed and educate people's minds. Why do we not feel the same to care for and heal their bodies?
Bernard, Joe, gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Coming up, Michael Jackson.